The first truth about the bleeding healer is this. When you spend your entire life diagnosing everyone else's dysfunction, you become completely blind to your own, and the wound you can't see is the one that bleeds out in public. Think about what happens when you build your entire identity around being the person who helps others. You become the expert, the healer, the one with answers. People come to you broken and you fix them. They come confused and you give them clarity. They come wounded and you help them heal. And over time, something happens. You start to believe that being the healer means you don't need healing. You start to believe that having the credentials mean you've done the work. You start to believe that because you can see everyone else's patterns, you must have transcended your own. But here's the truth. Your ability to diagnose other people's wounds doesn't mean you've healed your own. Your expertise in psychology doesn't make you immune to psychological patterns. Your professional training doesn't automatically translate to personal wholeness. You can have a doctorate in therapy and still be desperate for validation. You can teach boundaries and have none in your own life. You can help others build self-worth while secretly believing you're only valuable if men still want you. This is the trap of the wounded healer who never heals. Your professional identity becomes a shield that protects you from ever having to look at your own dysfunction. Think about Dr. Brian or Dr. Cheyenne's dress, a therapist, someone who helps people understand the psychology behind their behavior, shows up in an outfit so revealing it becomes the conversation. Now, if one of her clients did this, what would she say? She'd probably ask, what are you trying to communicate with this choice? What need are you trying to meet? What wound are you trying to medicate? She'd probably explore, are you seeking validation? Are you trying to prove something? Are you performing confidence to mask insecurity? She'd probably recognize this behavior suggests someone who's seeking external validation to fill an internal void. But when it's her, when she's the one in the dress, the same insight disappears, the same patterns become invisible, the same dysfunction gets rebranded as empowerment. This is what happens when you're so good at seeing everyone else's wounds that you become completely blind to your own. You can diagnose it in others, you can name it, you can help them heal, but in yourself, you can't see it. Because seeing it would shatter the identity you've built your entire life around, the identity of someone who has it together, someone who's healed, someone who doesn't need help because she's the one giving it. So the wound stays hidden, not because it's not there, but because your professional identity won't let you acknowledge it. And here's what happens to wounds that don't get acknowledged. They bleed out in public. They show up in their behavior even when they're invisible to your awareness. They express themselves in ways you don't recognize as cries for help. They scream through your choices while you call it something else entirely. For Dr. Cheyenne, the wound showed up in a dress that communicated what her professional persona would never allow her to say directly. I need to be seen. I need to be wanted. I need validation that I'm still desirable. I need proof that I still matter. But because she can't see the wound, she can't name that or name what the dress is actually saying. So she calls it empowerment, calls it confidence, calls it freedom. And maybe she genuinely believes that, but maybe she's so disconnected from the wound that she truly thinks this is just a fashion choice, just her living her best life, just her body, her rules. But the dress tells a different story. The dress says what the therapist can't admit. I'm bleeding out. I need someone to see me. Think about your own life. How many times have you been able to see patterns in others that you're completely blind to in yourself? How many times have you given advice you don't follow? How many times have you diagnosed someone else's behavior while engaging in the exact same pattern? How many times have you been so good at helping others that you're convinced, or you convince yourself, you didn't need help? This is the danger of building your identity around being the healer. You give someone or give yourself permission to never be the patient. You convince yourself that your expertise means you've transcended the need for your own healing. You become so focused on everyone else's wounds that yours become invisible. And invisible wounds don't get healed. Or healed. They fester, they grow, they bleed out in ways you don't recognize. For some women, the wound bleeds out through controlling behavior they call high standards. For some, it bleeds through people pleasing they call being nice. For some, it bleeds through isolation they call self-care. For Dr. CHEYENNE, it bled through a dress she probably called empowerment. But that wound doesn't care what you call it. It just keeps bleeding until you finally look at it. And here's the painful truth. The woman teaching everyone else about emotional health is often the woman most disconnected from her own emotional reality. The therapist helping clients understand their need for validation is often the one most desperate for it herself. The expert on boundaries is often the one with none in her personal life, because it's easier to see dysfunction in others than to face it in yourself. It's easier to heal someone else's wound than to acknowledge your own. It's easier to perform expertise than to admit you're still broken. So you keep performing, keep teaching, keep helping others, keep maintaining the image of someone who's got it together. But the wound keeps bleeding, and eventually it bleeds out in public, in a dress, in a relationship, in a breakdown, in ways you can't hide anymore. This is the first truth. When you spend your life diagnosing everyone else, you become blind to your own dysfunction, and the wounds you can't see is the one that bleeds out in public through your choices, your behavior, your desperate attempts to get needs met that you won't acknowledge you have.